Hello, this is Mark Satterfield, and welcome to the Velvet Rope Playbook. Tonight's chapter: The Invisible Architects: Lessons from Family Offices. Most people will never encounter a family office, and that's by design. These organizations are invisible to the general public, yet they sit quietly at the center of some of the most powerful dynasties in the world. Rockefeller Capital, Bessemer Trust, and hundreds of others you've never heard of exist to manage not just money, but legacies. At their core, family offices exist to preserve and grow wealth across generations. They make investment decisions, manage real estate, hire staff, coordinate philanthropy, educate heirs, and even manage reputations. They are the chief architects of continuity. But here's the most fascinating part: they rarely advertise. You won't see commercials for Rockefeller Capital on CNBC. You won't find Bessemer Trust handing out brochures at a trade show. These firms thrive on something more powerful than marketing: discretion and multi-generational positioning. And those two elements, discretion and multi-generational focus, are exactly what anyone who wants to work with the affluent can learn from. The first lesson: silence sells. Family offices know their clients value privacy above all. Every conversation, every deal, every move is conducted with the awareness that discretion isn't optional, it's the very product. For those of us in more public facing industries, this principle translates into how you present yourself to the affluent. The mistake many service providers make is thinking they need to shout louder, post more often, or bombard their market with ads. But the wealthy are repelled by noise. They don't want the person who seems available to anyone. They want the one who seems selective. They want to feel that they were chosen, not targeted. So the first big takeaway: your brand doesn't need to scream. It needs to whisper. Position yourself in such a way that clients feel they've been quietly invited into something not everyone gets access to. And if you want to know how to do that, how to craft stories that position you as the trusted advisor the wealthy instinctively gravitate to, go to getwealthyclients.com and get your copy of my latest Amazon #1 best-selling book, Velvet Rope Story Selling. It will show you how to use narrative to build a brand that feels safe, credible, and elite in the eyes of high net worth clients. That's getwealthyclients.com. Lesson number 2: play the long game. Family offices don't think in quarters, they think in generations. Imagine the difference between a typical wealth manager and a family office. The wealth manager wants to know what your risk tolerance is today and how your retirement accounts will look in 20 years. The family office, they're asking, what does your great granddaughter need to know in 60 years to preserve this fortune? That's not just difference in scale, it's a difference in mindset. And here's the lesson: if you want to sell to affluent clients, you need to show that you're not just here for the transaction today. You're here to safeguard the next chapter, the one after that, and the one after that. This is why positioning matters so much. Affluent buyers don't want a provider, they want a steward, someone who can see the big picture and anchor them for the long haul. So, how do you demonstrate this in your marketing? Through consistency, through storytelling that reflects stability, through showing that you understand their need for continuity and permanence. Think about how the family office teaches younger generations about wealth. They don't just hand over spreadsheets, they use stories. The story of how the fortune was made, the story of mistakes made and lessons learned, the story of what the family stands for. These narratives are more powerful than any financial instrument because they transmit values and identity along with assets. Now translate that onto your own business. Facts and credentials matter, sure, but the stories you tell, about past clients, about your process, about why you do what you do, are what makes you memorable and trustworthy. This is where many service providers lose the affluent market. They rely on technical details instead of narrative glue. But the wealthy are no different from anyone else in this regard. Stories are what stick. The next lesson: become the invisible hand. Notice how family offices never make themselves the star of the show. They don't brag, they don't self promote. Their role is to make their clients shine. If you want more affluent clients, take a page from this playbook. Don't make your messaging all about you. Instead, spotlight the client's success. Show how you enabled their rise, their stability, their legacy. The affluent gravitate to advisors who know how to stay in the background while making the client the hero of the story. Next lesson: loyalty through trust. Family offices rarely lose clients. Why? Because once a family trusts them with their fortune, changing providers feels too risky. That's what's called stickiness. And you can achieve a version of it in your own work, not by locking people into contracts, but by making yourself irreplaceable, by being the one who knows their quirks, their values, and their preferences. It's why affluent clients will keep going back to the same private banker, the same physician, or the same real estate consultant year after year. It's not always about superior technical skills. It's about the trust that continuity brings. Ask yourself, how can you build that same kind of trust? How can you become the one person your clients would feel lost without? And again, this is where story becomes your most powerful weapon. If you want to build that kind of trust, you need to craft a brand narrative that clients feel safe with. And that's why I wrote Velvet Rope Story Selling. It's a blueprint for turning your experience into a compelling narrative that attracts wealthy clients without hard selling. Head over to getwealthyclients.com and grab your copy today. The next lesson: the power of curation. Family offices don't do everything in-house. They act as curators, pulling in the best tax experts, the best art advisors, the best estate attorneys. That's another valuable lesson. You don't need to be all things to all people. In fact, the wealthy will respect you more if you act as a curator of excellence, introducing them to other trusted experts when appropriate. This positions you not just as a provider, but as a connector, a role of immense value in the affluent world. The world of family offices may be hidden, but the lessons they offer are clear. First, silence sells, discretion attracts. Two, think in generations, not transactions. Three, use stories to transmit values and identity. Four, be the invisible hand that makes the client shine. Five, create loyalty through trust. And six, curate excellence rather than trying to be everything yourself. If you integrate these principles into your own approach, you'll find yourself positioned far differently in the eyes of affluent clients, not as someone chasing business, but as someone safeguarding legacies. And ultimately, it's what the wealthy are looking for: not another vendor, but a partner they can trust to make their lives easier, richer, and more secure. This is Mark Satterfield. Thanks for listening to this chapter of the Velvet Rope Playbook. I'll talk to you soon with something new, but until then, bye for now.